Tonight, I drove a PS1 exclusive Tuner's Accord. I drove a PS2 exclusive Lexus. And I drove, supposedly, PS3 transferred Subaru. Hello, and welcome to the Gran Turismo. And this here is a little bit limited, and all I can do is just race in the actuality. And it can be made as a bare minimum. So don't get your hopes up when there's supposed to be Gran Turismo 2 kind of thing or whatever that is, because the more modern it is and more freedom it does, the more likely I can do better than it was. Although they can lack thereof be unique or exclusive cars that is very specific to certain, which is, for instance, maybe a certain Mugen or more tuned cars like the Mines R32, which somehow I managed to get into the Forza franchise, being a higher quality model. But despite that, that's all Wentworth. Now, if you're wondering why there's no controller disconnected from my DualShock 4, well, I had to use the Xbox controller as a standard for now on, but although it can lack some features such as motion controls for obvious reasons. In other words, that's called hating yourself. And sometimes you can't say the truth. And who you say the truth to someone, there is no one here in particular that's willingly to say no. So all I can do is say, I review it by saying I prefer racing than usual, and what the results can make you expect is nothing thereof. That is to say, do you say yes, do you say no, or you say something else. But in other words, I'm still limited to certain things. Anyway, what I can do the usual in the Mugen Accord is a little bit of one race quick before we move on to the usual reviews that were exclusive to, well, usual me. In other words, the usual me is, by that I meant just one race and then say, who you expect? Well, we're gonna take the Mugen to the Trial Mountain for the very specific amount of horsepower that can attribute to the PP. He's in Gran Turismo later on, starting with the 5th one, before being integrated as a main part for difficulty, which somehow sucks, but also poorly executed. But that's might as well just what it says when you have to do what it's meant to do. Anyways, we can get going to the Trial Mountain. Mugen asked any board drivers of the Honda Accord were willingly to ask, what if they're more cooler yet still reliable? What if they wanted people to shout out towards competitors like TRD, Mines, or Spoon to say, look at me, I'm in a better family? The answer goes to the very quick start of a Honda Mugen Accord SiR-T, or SiR-T if that was preferred, under my upgrades and ridiculous tunes. It's easy if I can do it in stock, but from the last time I did, I would rather get another spoon than the plastic fork. Now the first thing to note here is I'm taking a little bit of test run here at a certain track. What I might realize is that any circus you take in a certain car, you're free to make a test run before you can start racing as usual. Now, and up here is a little. Before I had to show you all the Mugen's upgrades I've gotten for full reason. Is that all I can do is make a typical build. Fully adjustable suspension, all done from grinding the same race that is the Red Rock Valley at All Stars with like the same, wow, TVR Speed 12 that literally no one drives except when you're really that special to drive. And I can roughly say that the full speed in this Mugen with upgrades I've put into before the race starts is up to around, as I've seen in one full straight, around 131 miles per hour. Or maybe a little bit more when you're using kilometers, if that's what I assume. Here, take this line here. It's almost fine and dandy though. At another average straight, the average straight can go like 121 miles per hour though. But not a long straight, I would just tell you and remind you again, is that it goes further. Although the problem with this, when I tune it in a way that it was, is that it's a little bit understeery, because I made it using a height trick though, and it's around like front low, rear high. That's just a mentality like that. Which as a result, it just goes a little bit faster, assuming that you goes like around a little bit more downhill than usual. Here it is. 137 miles per hour. I could take it to the machine test and say it's around like more than 137 miles per hour. Now, if you're questioning me, why am I using a MPH rather than KMH or KPH, it's just because, well, I already said in the tweet that some blokes on UK, they say it says miles per hour more on the motoring show than that. So why not I had to make a standard to make it easier for people to understand what MPH means? Despite the fact that I know most of the countries were metric, except some that managed to mix it in or just imperial in general. Now it has around 301 horsepower. It can feel a little bit slow, but on the other hand, it just feels right to like drive at that pace here, because, well, the Mugen wanted to make a Honda Accord at least more suitable and more comfortable for families like me, who's willingly to say that they have a second reliable car next to Toyota. And then you can answer the same with Acura though, if they manage to make the car in Japan, and hopefully has the same expectations as what Lexus does back in like almost 20 years ago, which is almost perfect. On the other hand, I'm saying nothing, and around like more at another second, 137 miles per hour. back to the menu and look into it. Judging from the design, it was sleek and basic, as for most used cars in the traffic. But in the hands of Mugen, it can make the Accord less basic, however not on the same level as the NXX at the time, which can oppose the idea of cool modification and the exciting chumps. The performance, as I said from my upgrades, is basic enough to be a traffic car. At the same time, it's a little fast enough for around 140 miles per hour, or less than depending on how far can you drive through, complex corners, or just straight line that anyone can draw on the LJN's drawing console easily enough. As for the ridiculous tune, I think it's enough for me to show you for a bit. But for an overall rating, I'd say 3 stars for my own modification on the Mugen Accord, but 4 stars if stock and used as a daily car. More info if you wish to review it yourself and give it your own opinion, however, if you like, of course. Now, right, looking over to the part, the settings thing. So here we're gonna look into like how I tuned it in a way that you can copy it as literally everyone else does. As for the suspension, here's what you got. I just gonna show you all. You don't need to like, I don't need to tell you anything. You just look at it and then you gotta copy it. Just make sure you pause in time. Now as for brakes, however, maybe I should have like known about adjusting it, but leave it here just fine. This one's just a gear trick, like everyone else. The wings here are just not wings unless I make it as a race modification and then put it a little bit downforce. This one here is just however I want and however I feel because I want it not here. So why don't I just start a race? Anyway, let's just move on to the actual race part. For like less than 90 horsepower in, and hopefully I can make it through like enough 100 miles per hour away to like another FF cars here, and then see what we can look into once I finish the race and then get a prize car. Empty time. Got a good start here at around quick 60 miles per hour. Yeah, chunks are gonna get off and away over the curb. And I blast them off at the first place. And I'm just gonna kick in. Oh, right, Honda Integra, my bad. I wonder if we can catch up here around lap part. Yeah. Another almost 138 miles per hour, and now you can barely see it, but that's 138 miles per hour. And I'm way further ahead. Back at the usual line, no need to cut, it's fine, just keep going there. And right. And then here comes the last lap, just like every Gran Turismo 7 race I've done, and I'm almost about to finish the whole menu book career. And then do the same 500,000 credits grind, just like the TVR. That's probably done on purpose when TVR was made to be a car that you always sell. but never drive it. Still far from the lead. And yes, the lap that I've done is exactly 138 miles per hour. Oh! 140 miles per hour. Neato. I mean, it's possible to reach at 200 miles per hour like the other ones, like the Suzuki Pikes Peak, though, if you really want to, aside from like reaching more 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, and 150 miles per hour. Maybe you can grab less for like in 20 mpg. Perfect landing. Well, that's done. I'm way further ahead. Oh, it's an Accord, sorry. Alright, let's move on. You know, I thought I was gonna say like some price cars are just a joke in terms of like how worthy can it be. Let's just take a look at here now. A prelude. Another Mugen. Fuck's sake. You're telling me like I had to take one review or another and then take it to Laguna Seca just to say like I love the Mugens. And then like what's next? More Mugens than ever? It's even the point like saying one Mugen or Evo 5 or another. Right. That's just one race of this segment here. Like, I would say like it was alright. Just that it's not even much of a point I can do other than just the fact that I say like you take a test, take a test at like a certain race that you're pretending to take a test run, but not really. Give it like a little bit of silly name, and then like at least call it for like $1 million in pounds. In particular, I mean. Or say like you want to drive a car that is hopefully a 40 miles per gallon guaranteed, or 10.4 liters per 100 kilometers guaranteed, but instead you get less than what you expected for like 40 miles per gallon, or 100 liters per whatever, or 10.47 liters per 100 kilometers, though, as I fairly said. Right then. On that note of unity and a small unity, let's just take a trip to the PS3 generation. Pretty outdated. So here we are, back in the Gran Turismo 6 garage, or whatever you pronounce it. So what I'm gonna take a look into here is giving around a chance at Laguna Seca, then maybe a Nürburgring later. Is it going to be a Lexus SC300 or a Toyota Sora, whatever they can take on to? Because I believe that by giving it a little bit of chance over here, and then take it over to the rebatch answer to the US that's willing to say like they want to like love or take into feeling or whatever they can have to admit that they say like they love the unity, or they love the catastrophic, mental, problematic, but yet brilliant Lexus, but still dull unless you bring in the LFA, which is fair choice, but I've yet to admit something that it's going to be my favorite or not my favorite. And I guess I have to bring this very specific Lexus in this color here, rose red mica. Now, before I take a test drag, I'm just gonna omit the current specs here and then like explain some details. This displacement is around 2,491 cc with a max power of 275 horsepower and around 6,000 RPM. With the torque is around also a 278.4 pounds, or torque that is if I had to admit around the pounds. It's a further around 2,500 RPM. Now the current on the drivetrain and aspiration is around the front rear end drive, right, with a turbo fitted in, just not DC if that was supposed. But all they can say is the length and width and height as already suggested and already shown, and that is what it was supposed to mean. And as for the weight, it's around like 1,560 kilograms, which can fairly safe to say that it can have a fair backstory here to say like what do they love and what do they hate. So let's roll with the SC to the Laguna Seca. Let's roll it. Toyota with the Sora wanting to give Lexus another rebash chance within the US via the SC300. That decision from Toyota themselves came in mind to surprise the American luxury market competitors like Acura or Infiniti, or any American luxury brand in general, to pull the cover off in May of 1991, then give it a shot at the Lexus SC model line. By accommodating the American drivers, the Sora or SC physically grew when compared to the previous model. Its overall length and width increased 7.2 inches and 2.6 inches respectively, thus making the measurement from front to rear 192.9 inches and 71.0 inches in width. For the initial version, of course, that can probably surprise me that I am prone to crashing here. The design of the Sora's elegant but not on the snake level shape was penned at Toyota's North American design studio called Culti, or whatever that was behind the backstory. But so anyway, the car was styled with US taste in mind. To look at the SC's face, it was highlighted by grille-less design with large fixed headlights, which is still compared to the other pop-up headlight cars like the Toyota Sprinter Cherano Apex A86 and Mazda RX-7 FD, whatever trim that exists by your taste. The Sora's or the SC performance is fairly reasonable. Under the bonnet was a twin turbocharged 2.5-liter DOHC incline 6 that pumped out 260 horsepower, while 4.0-liter DOHC V8 that also pumped out 256 horsepower, which can be a downgrade for some people, but also fairly reasonable for most people that were also retired and rich, or both in particular. This here I want to tell you about the SC300's performance here. At this straight in here before the next turn, it can go up to around 110 miles per hour. If I can take that to the special state Route X, it's gonna go around up to more than 110 miles per hour. But for my guess reasons, I think I could say a fair bit of 120, 130, 150, or maybe 180. But that's just if you upgrade the SC300 to be able to do it more than 110 miles per hour. But that's what can help you a lot more further to do. Yikesy yikes. Now, to keep in mind about the Lexus SC300, Toyota really wanted to give us an answer to the SC, and what they gave us is they gave us here. That's all I can have. but the weight of the 1,500 kilos, it just feels right for the how heavy it can be though. While you can still use it for the traffic reasons. You know, honestly, just running here in a comfort soft, can just say it feels right. And if that says it feels right, then the point is that you take it to the matter of factor that the more you think about it, the more likely you say, oh, I want to buy this. And how much it costs to go into the Gran Turismo 6? It's 60,000 credits. That's probably the total cost I've spent here from the last time I've heard about it. It can be reasonably fair, but if you look into the Gran Turismo 4's late 90s showroom, it can cost around approximately 17,000 credits. Can be a bit cheap, but it also depends on how much mile was driven here. I say it's around 40,000 miles driven, or 90,000 kilometers if that's what you're using a metric system. Still, you gotta make it a fair assumption that it can go further than that. For the average speed, I might mind you, on the SC300, it can take around 55 miles per hour or 35 miles per hour if that's assuming that you use the speed limiter. But at the racetrack here, like Laguna Seca, it can go up to around 76 miles per hour or 82, almost an 82 miles per hour. And that just says for one example around here. On top of that, I had to do this with no traction control. So you gotta make a fair assumption that all I say and all it's done is they're done without traction control, except the ABS for obvious reasons. Because the braking can go further than 70 miles per hour there without braking too hard and your brakes will lock up. If the SC300 did technically have some sort of a traction control proper, for assuming that the traction control hasn't been broken down, then it's fair to admit that you're always going to sacrifice safety for fun. Like the TVR. But even then, the TVR knows that how to make the road track unsafe thing that just tells you to not crash. Which is one example here. But I'm gonna give but I think it should be this round here and then another corkscrew here, and that mess up can say yes or no. It was produced more in the US trim. The former engine came with a 5-speed manual transmission, while the latter came with a 4-speed automatic transmission. The suspension consisted of a double wishbones, assuming the suspension had bones or some kind of thing, at all four corners with a 2.5 liter model, getting a piezo electric TMS system, Toyota electric modulator suspension. And that's what it's supposed to say and stand for. In 1996, Japan decided to stop selling the V8 model to men with a doff hat that improving it, and then replace it with the one that has 3.0 liter incline 6 that barely managed to stop anyone that's also willing to go and improve it. But thanks to the timeless design and by some miracle and smooth powertrain, the Sora or SC proved popular in Japan and in the US. as for the overall rating after driving it with some of my feelings on the Lexus SC300, I say a fair decent 4.1 stars. Anyone can improve it, and so do I, when I have too much money to burn it and to put some fake sponsorship stickers to act like I've signed a contract with a fake chocolate company, instead of buying something like a Toyota Supra RZ or the earlier Supras. While we're on back of the topic of another usual thing to say more about the usual, and a quick news part is that there's gonna be a lot of change on the Series 2 since then. If you're not aware of like looking at community posts, that's like currently latest. But at the same time, I want to correct the mistake here. As it turns out, the Lexus SC300 price cost is around 35,000 credits, not 60,000 credits. My bad. But at the same time, I have been a little bit too ambitious for being a single person though. Most people would do this with like a team though, but here I am. I just realized, yeah, there's a point, but I have no point of returning around like 50 miles away from like going in and out, and then like 10 miles and 5 more next afterwards. So what's next for it? Well, everything will be moved into the media format. But the last thing is like, where's test driving a daily car? Where the answer is simple. No one cares. But I think I should go for the best send off here in the Subaru Impreza WRX STI 2007. This here should be a nice example here, but I want to make a send off at a drive at the Goodwood Festival Speed track, hill climb. So why not just go there and like give it my own attempt here and see what's my record at. Anyways, let's hang on to it. Here we go. No traction control. Let's see how I can go. For a corner, it's alright. This brightness can't even see through in this corner around here. Ouch. My bad. I think I hit some hay bales. Almost a 1 minute. 59. Well, I can do better. I think that's good enough. While we're on the topic of the 59.163 time record here that can beat mine, I wanted to admit this here that ditching the aspects on the studio and the tent right there. Well, it's amazing that I did get more episodes before. It's just that I feel like I have a lot of important things to do, and especially when you have to do a quick work as opposed to like the long work, when like most of the longer work is usually not that well received, as opposed to like less effort means more profit. But high effort can mean something if it's well executed. But I guess that's all I had to admit. But that's on the topic here. Well, on the topic of like a little bit of talking here and like looking at the dealership part, what I can look at, and we can look at in a little bit of history here, is one of my favorites in the Toyota. Besides the the normal sedans and whatever, is a little bit of a boxier Toyota Supra 3.0 GT Turbo A, and the Mark III generation here. And that this here is a nicely brilliant black Toyota here coming around, a homologation model with a special equipment for the Group A racing, which is probably what it says here. But so looking around here, pretty boxy, has a pop-up headlights. It makes people stand out that it wasn't in the Fast and Furious franchise, right? Well, technically it does, but if it appears in like Japanese racing cartoon or whatever, then it can be overrated, as same as the Mark IV Supra. But that's not all I can admit, because I don't treat Supras as like I see them from the Fast and Furious franchise. They're just too Americanized for these cars, though. But at the same time, I say like, yeah, they can have fun. Just crash them anyways. Just make sure you're just short enough to like save you from like the crash, and hope that has an ABS. But keep in mind, the Supra Mark III, especially the 3.0 GT Turbo A, it has like the foundation and some platforms like the Toyota Sora's rear drive platform here, and this came in to more potential. And keep in mind, this came in from the PS4 and the PS5 generation. So thank the Lord for this to be archived here with some polish. But I dare say you, it's all good. As the same as here, but not all of them will be transferred here, except for this. Gladly, you may ask. Unfortunately, all but the SC430, the Super GT, the models were carried over to the PS4 generation. But I do have to admit that it's on a terrible disappointment on the fact that I had to ditch the important aspect to pump out episodes week after week. I had to say that it has to come to an end. But just admit that everyone likes all the brands with their own flaws and everything like that. Most people are gonna move over to Toyotas or Lexus though, because they're reliable. But I also admit that Lexus are the Japanese Mercedes and sort of stuff. And not all people with Lexus will side with the BMW or Mercedes-Benz for obvious reasons. And same is true for Audi, for who I met. And yes, I still technically can review the roof cars as long as I still back then there was like Porsche was still exclusive, but I still hate it anyways. But not even then, the arcadey track racing in Need for Speed can't convince me for shift reasons or whatever. Yeah, brand exclusivity, where expectations go through. I was thinking still, what's next for the Gran Turismo and all of that stuff, and everything, all of that in one. That some I review, some I don't review, some I don't care, whatever I say this. But always gonna take a look at the first I've started with, and the Mitsubishi here. The first challenge I meant for the Mitsubishi Evo. Here. And the Pioneer's black and all the first Evos. I say I admire it being a soft spot for like the first start for the challenge. And the next for like the first review of modified cars will be, I was just looking at it or the dealership menu. That would be the Honda Civic. Somewhere I remember. Huh. Probably I'm gonna confuse these two right now, but it can be either that one or maybe the night one. If anyone gonna check it, then yeah, it's nice. One can also be true for that if I remember where I've driven it and review it. Or maybe this one. But I don't actually remember the models I've driven. Yeah, I actually remember is that one Subaru I've driven from like the test drive in the daily car. That's the Legacy. At the Laguna Seca. It's pretty nice to admit though. Lexus in the other game is also the other daily drive car. I will admit that soft spot is a soft spot, and I feel really kind about it. And that is all I can admit, that being a challenge with these cars are amazing, they're nice and all, but I think all their review of the aspects will be transferred to the media format, and instead this series here onwards will be specials only, or I say show. On that terrible disappointment, but copyrighted, I think it's time to end. Anyways, take care, good night, and I'll see you when it's like already announced